Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to be doing an analysis of Suits. Now, listen, I know that this is a TV series that hasn't been on the air for 4 or 5 years, but there's a bunch of reasons why we're talking about it. The first of which is this week, it became the #1 show on Netflix. And there's a bunch of reasons it did that, and we'll talk about those as we jump into this. But what we try to do here at Screenwriting U is every time a show is incredibly successful, every time a show makes it to #1, we really look at it as a possibility of sharing with you some of the things it does that makes it great. Now, my guess is the reason you're here probably is two things. First, maybe you loved this show. Maybe you watched it all the way through. Maybe some of you have watched season after season after season. Probably the second reason you're here is just because you want to learn what takes a show to #1. So let's jump in and do that. Here's what we're going to be talking about. Well, Suits, yes. But today, we're going to be talking first about the 5-star model for creating what we call binge-worthy TV. And this is something we spent 2 years analyzing with an incredible development team. We had writers from 2 different shows who worked with us during that process. We had an executive from NBC Universal who basically part of his job is taking pitches every single day. So he has not only seen every show that they put up, but he has listened to thousands of pitches. Now, part of why we brought him on first was because he got intrigued with our idea in the first place. But the other thing was, you know what? If you can learn how to pitch these shows, if you can learn what causes executives and producers to say yes, you have a significantly better chance of success. Second thing we're going to talk about are the key decisions that caused this series to go 9 seasons. And if you take those decisions away, this show never gets made. So those decisions are incredibly important. And then we'll talk about triggering suspense, worry, and exposure of the lies. Now, part of this show is based upon one lie that I would say sustained 5 seasons. That's pretty amazing. And so the more you understand about that, the more you can make strong decisions for your own project. And then we'll talk about the upcoming class, the Binge-Worthy TV program, which is designed to have you make a significant improvement both in your writing and your ability to create shows that you can easily pitch and have a real chance when you're talking with producers. So let's jump into this. Suits. First, let me give some credits here. This is a legal drama. It was created by Aaron Korsh, who was a writer on 3 or 4 TV shows, including Everyone Loves Raymond. I think this was the first show that he was the showrunner on. This one broke the record last week with 12.8 billion minutes viewed. Now, that's incredible. They launched it, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it shot straight to #1. Now, of course, there's reasons for that. And I've seen a lot of people speculate. There are some people saying that we're having some pretty high profile trials going on out there, or at least, arrest and those kinds of things that are causing people to have more interest in law shows right this second. But the other side, of course, is it really helps to have Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, be one of the key players in this particular show. Who would have known? And having a celebrity, having somebody who becomes incredibly successful after your show is aired, might give it a second life like this did. Who knows? So first, let me just give you kind of a standard kind of legal show that we see like a lot in contest right now. And I want you to just look at this and ask yourself, do you watch this show? So somebody presents you a show about a high-level law firm. And I'm not talking about Suits right now. I'm just talking about somebody comes and pitches you this. It represents top clients. All the attorneys are Harvard grads. They have difficult cases, impressive negotiations. They're great at trial. Does that sell the show? And really think about it. Does that sell the show? Now, my guess is if you talk to a writer who has written something like that, they would say, yes, you know, I have all kinds of drama. I have cool characters. I have interesting things going on. Yes, that should sell the show. Here's the real answer. It doesn't. If that's all you present, right, they're going to say, and what makes it different than the other 40 legal shows that have already been on the air? And that's the key to your success. Now, let me show you what it is. Well, I guess I'll get to that in just a minute. What sells the show really are these things. And this is part of when we were working with the exec from NBC Universal. He was constantly asking us for things that would be big hooks out there, things that we could say that would get audiences to say, oh my God, I've got to watch that, right? So those started with what we call big picture hooks. Now, these are your high concepts, having a great title, being able to present something in a single sentence or two sentences that the moment you say it, it lights up an audience and it lights up an executive or a producer. Second, we're talking intriguing character. And intriguing character at minimum means there is more under the surface than on the surface. And it's really easy to write fun characters, cool characters, and that kind of thing. But what this requires is some serious depth. You want characters who have multiple layers. And by layers, I mean when that moment that they uncover something about this character, people go, oh my God. And they talk about it. They tell everybody, oh my God, you've got to see episode 7. It's like, I thought Mike was this, and then it turned out he's that kind of thing, right? So when you can create that level of character that is going to have layer after layer after layer, that works incredibly well for TV. You need to create empathy/distress. Now, I'll talk about that more in detail. But basically what this means is two things. It means you are causing the audience to feel distress for the character, so they naturally start to empathize with them, right? You put somebody under enough distress, even if people hate that person, at some point, they're going to start to feel for them. They're going to start to worry about them. They're going to start to care on a very, very deep level. This is 10 times more powerful than likability. So this is something you absolutely want to master. In fact, all 5 of these are things that need to be so prevalent in your show that this is what people talk about. Then you need layers and open loops. Now, again, layers means there's something beneath the surface that once we uncover it, we see either the character or the show in a completely different way. And it causes us to reassess everything they've done up to this point. It causes those, oh my God moments, right? It causes people to talk about it out in the media, talk about it in social media, right? All of those kinds of things. Open loops, these are questions about the future of the show, right? So this could be things like, Will they ever succeed? Will they get caught? Will they ever kiss? Right? Will these two have a relationship? Those are open loops. Those are questions that we're asking, and they cause us to need to see what's coming up next. And then finally, the fifth one over here, and let me get out of the way for a moment, inviting obsession. Now, this word obsession sometimes has a negative connotation. But please know this: if you can get your audiences obsessed about your show, first, they're going to watch every single season. Second, they're going to convince other people to watch every single season. So this is incredibly important if you're talking TV. If you're talking a movie, a feature film, you only have to sell it once. But with TV, you're having to keep people engaged over years, season after season after season. You need obsession. And obsession, there's a whole bunch of different ways to create this. But first, you just need to buy into the concept. You need to decide up front, I'm going to do everything I can to get people obsessed. And let me tell you how you know if you were obsessed. Let's say somebody recommends a show to you and it's 11 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed between 11 and midnight, let's say. So somebody recommends a show, you turn it on and you think, all right, let me just check it out. Then what happens is you get engaged and you get excited, and somewhere there you start to get obsessed, right? Somewhere there you start to think, oh my God, this show's incredible. It hooks you in a big way. You get to the end of that episode, right? Now they do the cliffhanger and you can't help yourself. You have to watch the next episode. And so you start having this conversation. Let's see. I could go to bed at 1. If I go to bed at 1, I can still get up at 7. I'll be okay, right? And now you finish that episode and you think, oh my God, should I watch another episode? And you do it, right? Even though it's going to cost you sleep. Now, my guess is every person here has had that experience at some point, right? That's called binge worthy. That's what this whole thing is about. And these decisions that I just showed you, which I'm going to go through having to do with this show, these decisions are the ones that sell the show. So knowing that, let's move forward. So Suits, what sold it, right? That's important to be considering. It's something you want to be thinking about on a regular basis. And here's the answer, just so we're clear. The answer is great decisions. Every time you see one of these shows that's highly successful, if you go back, you can look at the acting, you can look at the directing, you can look at all these other things that happen. But if you go back and look at the show itself and the writing, what you'll see is they made great decisions that were better than all the shows that didn't work. And let's be clear, Netflix has about 500 shows that they call invisible shows. Those are the shows that they purchased at some point. They are on Netflix. If you search enough, you can find them. But almost nobody knows about them. And the problem was the decisions. The decisions were good. They weren't great. The shows that are successful have great decisions. This is the difference. You've got to master this. It's the most important thing of everything you do when it comes to writing, if you want to sell. So let's look at some of these, the big picture hooks. First, the concept. So a college dropout with a photographic memory talks his way into a job as an attorney at a prestigious law firm, despite not having a law degree, right? This is the concept that had this show be different than all the other law shows out there. It was something that was a major hook. It's something that played out for 5 seasons. For 5 seasons, we've got this secret happening here. And I want you to notice 2 things. This single lie and its cover-up is the most important decision of this show. And it's the part that's missing from the vast majority of the legal shows that you see in contest that are being pitched at the studios and those kinds of things. It's missing, they're missing something that will make it something people talk about from now on, right? Second thing to notice, that lie and cover up constantly was triggered throughout the first 5 seasons. If you watch that show, once you got into that, you were constantly worried that at some point Mike was going to be found out, right? It wasn't a small thing. It was being triggered in almost every episode in one way or another. There was a moment where, oh my God, do they know? They just ask him a question about Harvard. He doesn't know the answer. Are they suspecting now? Somebody else just found out. Oh my God, are they going to tell the authorities? Right? It's like it was happening nonstop. And in the midst of that, then we had all the legal drama that had us fall in love with the characters, that had us be deeply engaged and wondering about all kinds of other things, that had us emotionally connected to this particular show, right? But if this one thing hadn't been there, we would have never watched it. And it would have never, first, it would have never gotten picked up. Second, it would have never gotten a second season, right? And once you understand that, then this becomes your most important decision. It's the first thing you've got to tackle. If you don't have it, you don't have a show yet. So the intriguing question that came from that concept, how long can Mike keep this secret? And what are the partners and prosecutors going to do when they find out, right? Because what he's doing is a crime, you know? And if you think about the way they did it, they did such a cool thing. They started it out basically with him being a light criminal. You know, his friend asked him to deliver this package. He knows that it has drugs in it. He's getting paid $25,000 to take care of grandma. That's what this whole thing is about. His grandma needs some kind of treatment or needs better housing or whatever it is. He then needs to get that $25,000. He agrees to take some drugs and drop them off. Right? So we started by seeing him as a criminal. And now what we see him as is this guy who is incredibly smart. He has this photographic memory. He can read a book and memorize every single page of it. He knows the law inside and out from an intelligence perspective, a memory perspective. He has no idea what he's doing for the most part. But you know what? All of this came from this concept. And that's what sold the show. Now, second, let's go to intriguing character. Every character, every main character has a secret that they're covering up. They have deep motivation for whatever they're doing. Each one of them has a wound that is beneath the surface that is controlling some of their interactions. And they have an internal dilemma, some kind of question where they have two alternatives basically in their life. What are they going to do? Like Mike's in this situation, and I'll talk about it in a second, I guess. But the internal dilemma is designed to also have us engaged. Every one of these engages in who these characters are. Now, they have a bunch of other things in their profiles. So if I was going to give you entire character profiles for these characters, it would take up 3 or 4 slides. But if these were missing, it wouldn't matter how many cool things you put in the other parts. And that's what we need. Is we need characters we're intrigued by, and intrigue means, again, they have multiple layers to them, and there's more under the surface that we need to discover. So, Mike, he loves the law, but he has two problems. First, he hasn't gone to law school. And second, he's breaking the law every day that he presents himself as an attorney. Right? So, and he's putting himself in all kinds of jeopardy doing this. So again, at any point, he could be found out. That's just some of the stuff that's under the surface. Harvey, this is the win at all cost or any cost attorney. He hired Mike knowing that Mike had a bag of drugs right in front of him. He had a briefcase filled with drugs, and that he wasn't a legal attorney, right? He knows he didn't go to law school. However, he was blown away by Mike's ability to think, rethink, think things. And actually, Mike tricked him at one point, and that surprised him. So he hired him. Harvey is a closer, and by the way, this is part of who is a master at these one-line ultimatums. In probably 2 to 3 times in every episode, he gives somebody a one-line ultimatum and then turns and walks away. It's always a dramatic moment. It's always a power moment. Harvey is a power player. And he loves winning, and he loves the other side losing. But for some reason, he really likes Mike, and he believes that Mike can do something great, even though he is constantly putting him down. Now, Lewis. Lewis is our probably our primary antagonist in this show. He is a total power player, you know. He makes decisions emotionally, and this is part of what makes him the antagonist. Lewis can get triggered and make a decision that's going to cause all kinds of problems. So Lewis is very unpredictable. On top of that, he's suspicious of Mike, and he loves Harvard. So he's constantly noticing something is missing with Mike. Mike doesn't know where to get the square pizzas in the midst of their trivia thing. They do a Harvard trivia night. At one point, everybody comes in and sings the Harvard song because they're all from Harvard. And the only one who doesn't know the Harvard song is Mike, right? So Lewis gets very suspicious. He causes us to constantly worry that he's going to find out. And that makes Lewis an incredibly important character. You know, there are probably times where you look at this guy and go, stop already. But if he wasn't there, constantly being suspicious, constantly wondering, constantly testing Mike, and constantly being on the edge of catching Mike, this lie wouldn't be half as valuable or as important. Then we have Donna. Donna is highly perceptive, possibly even psychic, but she and Harvey are in love. They just can't express it. Now, there's a reason they can't express it. Basically, it comes down to this. What Harvey is doing is incredibly important in both of their minds, and she's there to take good care of him. She's a good human being. So, but she also has this whole thing where she can see through people. And so it's like, again, what that creates is moments that are unpredictable, moments where it looks like things are going to go in a certain way, and then Donna sees something or notices something. She makes the show fun. And then Rachel, who is a paralegal, right, who falls for Mike. But what we don't know in the beginning, and we find out somewhere, I think at the end of the first season or the beginning of the second, Rachel's father is Robert Zane. He's one of the most intense attorneys out there, and he will do anything to protect his daughter. And he sees Mike as a con man. So he becomes another one of the characters that is constantly on the edge of finding out. And because Mike and Rachel fall in love, Mike has to deal with him. So again, what we're doing is putting Mike in these situations where at any moment somebody could find out. Now, why I'm pointing this out and spending so much time talking about this is because if you leave this part out, you don't have a show, right? All the drama in the world doesn't save things if people don't get engaged and, keep wondering and keep looking deeper and those kinds of things. So let's go to the next part. Empathy distress. First thing, I want you to note this, and this is really smart. When you're starting a show and you're going into a world that most people don't know well, you need a character that you follow and that you live through. In this case, we're Mike, right? We didn't graduate from Harvard either, right? We're new to this law firm. We haven't been there before. We're new to how they do things. We're new to who Harvey is. We're new to all the power players in this situation. And we don't know the job either. Unless you're an attorney, you might know the job, but most people don't know the job. It's like every time they hand him an assignment that he doesn't know what he's doing, we're deeply connected to him because we also don't, right? I don't know how to file for a patent. I need to learn that, but I don't know how. Last night I was watching one of the episodes and he was handed a paper and told to go file this. And he's like, how do you file a patent? He didn't know. And the guy who did know took total advantage of him, had him end up doing a whole bunch of work in order to exchange, and then didn't do the job. So it's like, he's in all kinds of situations that were in the same spot. Now, this is something they did intentionally so that we would follow him, so that we would go on the journey with him. Now, so we feel empathy for Mike pretty much from the beginning. He's trying to stop his friend from dealing drugs, and he ends up getting set up to take the fall. And this is in the first episode. He needs the $25,000. He knows his friend is dealing drugs. He thinks, okay, I can get that quickly. He's trying to take care of his grandma. And so it's like, all right. And then what we see is the guy who had given him the drugs thinks there might be a chance that this might be a bust. And so his friend is held by the drug dealers and says, let's see what happens. Right. So Mike then goes to the hotel, sees the people he's supposed to meet, recognizes that one of them has a gun and that the other one is saying things about the hotel that don't make sense. And so he escapes into an interview with Harvey. And all he's doing is hiding out. He doesn't care. He gets into the interview, and that's the moment where he shines. Now, from a distress perspective, and this is really important. The job is to create distress so that we feel empathy, right? So from a distress perspective, Lewis is constantly manipulating him, berating him, right? He's also suspicious because Lewis is 100% Harvard. His whole life is about Harvard. And Mike doesn't deliver the Harvard vibe. So, and Lewis keeps picking up on that over and over and over. Now, all of this stuff, all of this distress that Lewis creates for him causes us to feel empathy, causes us to worry about him. Also, he's constantly on the edge of having his secret exposed. Wouldn't it be terrible to have a secret like that and know that at any point the whole thing could come crashing down? So again, we're feeling for him. And he's having to pretend to be an attorney when he doesn't have the real education to know what to do. Now, let's pause for a second. Here's what he has. He has this photographic memory. He can remember anything that's in those books, right? So he would be great at a trivia game show because he has that information stored in his head and he can instantly access it. But what he's missing is experience. Really, on most of this, he's just winging it. He's just making it up as he's going. And he's constantly running into these moments where he's doing the wrong thing, or where he said the wrong thing, or he didn't know what to do in this moment. So those are distressful moments, and they have us feel empathy because we are in his spot also. Now, layers and loops. You absolutely need these. Listen, in a feature film, you can get away with having maybe one layer under the surface. In a thriller, you're going to have multiple layers under the surface, but in a drama, you might only have one. But in a TV series, you have to sustain this. And pretty much when you're pitching it, you have to be able to show them that you can do 5 seasons, which means you need every character to have layers, and you need plot layers also that are big plot layers. So let's look at some of this. Layer. Harvey knows Mike's secret. And Harvey is putting his own tail on the line for Mike, right? So it's not just Mike that will be in trouble if his secret's exposed. Harvey also very likely will lose his job at that point, or be thrown out of the partnership, or whatever happens in that situation. Another layer, multiple characters are covering for Mike. And at some point, that's going to come back to haunt him. Every time somebody finds out, every time another person finds out, Mike is worried. And I'll walk through some of those in just a few minutes. But if you only have one person who's keeping your secret, you only have to worry about that. If you have 20 people who are keeping your secret, you know what? It could come from anywhere. So the more people who know his secret, the more dangerous it is for him. Open loops. This is the biggest one. When will Mike get caught? And remember, an open loop is a question about the future that causes us to look into the future of the show. It causes us to wonder about future episodes, right? It's like a lot of times people think, when I get to the end of an episode and I'm compelled to watch the next episode, a lot of people think it's just the cliffhanger. And that's not true. It is not just the cliffhanger. It's these layers, it's these open loops, it's the empathy distress, it's the intriguing character that we are just learning about, or we just found out something new about, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons that you are compelled to watch the next episode. It's just most of them aren't conscious, right? On most of them, you don't know what's going on. We had to slow this process down. We had to analyze it from start to finish. We looked at so many pilots that caused us to be obsessed with the next episode. And then we also looked at pilots that at the end of the pilot, we went, nah, I don't think so. And what we noticed was a lot of this stuff was missing from the ones that we said no to. So this stuff makes a difference. Next open loop, will Rachel and Mike become a couple? Right? And this is throughout most of the first season, we're wondering about that. At some point, it becomes clear, the answer. Will each case be won or lost? So these create open loops that show up and are resolved inside the episode, but they did a good job of putting every case in some kind of jeopardy and made it some kind of unique jeopardy. Will Lewis be made a partner, right? And Lewis, while he's causing a lot of shit for Mike, he still is a character that we're going to feel over time emotionally connected to. And part of the distress that Lewis is feeling is everybody keeps passing him up. He keeps, he keeps saying all the wrong things and doing the wrong things because he's doing it emotionally. And that's kind of frowned on in a law office. And so because of that, other people keep being made partner while Lewis is standing on the sidelines. It's just not fun for him. So those are some of the open loops. Let's see what else we have here. Who finds out Mike's secret and when? And this is, again, the major source of intrigue in this show for the first 5 seasons. So let's just look through some of them. Harvey knew from the beginning. Before the first thing that happened, Mike walked into the interview room at the hotel, and his briefcase popped open and a whole bunch of, drugs popped out on the floor. So they were bags full of marijuana. That was the first thing that happened. Then he sat down and Mike told Harvey what he was there for, what was going on. He was just hiding out. He needed $25,000. And then he showed him what made him great, right? Which was this photographic memory. He had memorized all of these law books. Harvey was blown away by who he was. So that moment caused him to hire Mike, right? So he is known from the very, very beginning. Donna found out in episode 1 and agreed to keep the secret. So now what we have is we have 2 people who know the secret. And one of them was somebody who wasn't there in the beginning, didn't see that interview, didn't have the same reason as Harvey, but she has a different reason. She's there backing Harvey. And Harvey believes in Mike. She said yes. So Lewis suspects from season 1, right? I think we're like 3 episodes in when he first starts suspecting. And then it's from that point on, over and over and over, there's a moment where he says, wait a minute, something's wrong here, where Mike either gets caught or almost gets caught. But Lewis doesn't actually find out until season 4. And then coming back in season 5, Lewis uses that to blackmail Jessica, the managing partner, into putting his name on the wall and making him a managing or a senior partner. And then, so at that point, then Mike's secret is being used to damage others. And at that point, again, we're feeling a lot of empathy and distress in that situation. Others, Lewis tells Jessica in the first episode of season 5, and he uses it for blackmail. This is what I just said. Rachel finds out in season 5, they're in a relationship. All these things have gone on. They've been together for quite some time. They're pretty much ready to get married. And it's like, okay, so in that case, we feel for Rachel and we feel for Mike because he's been hiding this and now he has to come clean. Sheila, Lewis's girlfriend, she works at Harvard. She's the one who reports it to the authorities, which brings us to this. Mike is arrested in season 6, goes to trial, and then goes to prison. So this major secret that this whole show has been about, finally in season 6, we see the end of it. Now, my guess is that that's as far as they ever thought in the beginning, right? When they created this show in the very beginning, they knew at some point he's going to go to prison. They knew at some point he was going to get arrested, go to trial, the whole thing, right? And probably they saw that as the end of the show. But again, this show had such a following, they continued for 3 more seasons. So the other reason why it's incredibly important to be able to write like this. Number 5, now we're inviting obsession. And again, I think this is one of those things that's so important. If you are not able to create obsession, you probably, well, your show probably doesn't go past season 1. And there's so many shows that don't make it past season 1, and this is a big part of it. If you are creating obsession, here's how Netflix sees it. They look at it as the show advertises itself. This show promotes itself without us doing a thing, right? If people are constantly talking about it, they're telling people on social media, you have to watch this show. They're going in and they're going, oh my God, the season 1 cliffhanger was unbelievable, right? It's like the finale just blew us away. That's going to cause more people to go sign up for subscriptions at Netflix. That's why Netflix does this. It's why they release shows the entire season in a single day. If you look at what they did with Suits here, I think they released 8 seasons in 1 day. So they're intentionally using this whole binge-worthy thing as a way of getting more and more and more people to come to Netflix. That's their model. They're the ones that actually created the whole binge-worthy obsession that we've all been living in ever since that point. So, the obsession. What does Mike have to do to not get caught? Right? It's not just about him getting caught. It's what does he have to do to cover it up? And this is incredibly important because we're watching the cover-up happen on a regular basis, right? It's that constant feeling that we're watching a train wreck that's about to happen. So first thing is there's unpredictability. This is part of the whole obsession thing. As each person finds out Mike's secret, how will they react? Will they keep the secret or will they turn on Mike? And again, step by step, they started having more and more and more people find out, which was putting him in more and more danger. This created a sense of impending doom, right? At some point, the secret's going to be exposed, and that could mean prison time. So, and with every person who knows, again, the risk increases. So, yeah, you may be asking, how do you create binge-worthy TV? Because this, if you really want to write for the TV industry right now, you need to understand this inside and out. If you're not a master at creating binge-worthy TV right now, I think you have almost no chance. It's like you can create characters, excellent, great, then you could be a writer in a room. You can create situations, you can write drama, you can write good dialogue. All of those are important. They make a huge difference. But since we're living in the world of streamers, this is the main criteria. And they may not say these words, but this is what they're looking for. So first thing to know, the decisions that you make are 10 times more important than the words. And this is what I see all the time. I see people who have written, an entire season, and they didn't make those key decisions up front. And so now that they've got a season written, if you go back and say, but wait a minute, what if your main character had this lie that they're covering up all the way through the whole show? If you're doing that in the very beginning, it's going to be easy to write. If you are doing that after you've written an entire season, it feels like you're interrupting everything you wrote. And that's why it's just so important to learn this stuff up front. I'll give you some of the decisions here. A concept or a premise that is a major hook. And a major hook means there's something unique about it that the moment you say that in 1 or 2 sentences, you instantly hook your audience, right? This is something that sells the show from the very beginning. As you saw here, that major hook is present in pretty much every single episode for the entire first 5 seasons. So it guides most of your decisions. You need to look deeper. We need layers. We need intrigue. We need conspiracies. We need reveals. There's about 15 of these that you need to build in, even if you're writing a drama. If you're writing a thriller, wow, it really fits. It's like, this is all thriller material, but I'm going to tell you, if you're writing a drama, if you're writing a romantic show, you still need all of this, because you've got to keep us engaged all the way across all of these seasons. You need to be asking this question constantly: what could make this, whatever it is, more interesting? What could make this lead character more interesting? What could make this episode more interesting? What could make this secret more interesting, right? Even if you think you've nailed it, keep asking the question until you find a 100% better answer. Do that, and just that one thing might make the difference for you. But really, you need to master all of these other things. Another decision is to have characters who have multiple layers of conflict, right? They have things going on beneath the surface, things going on beneath that, and beneath that. I was talking with one producer, and he says, anytime someone pitches me a TV series, I say, and this, I'll do his voice. I say, wow, that's great. What's beneath that? And I said, oh, cool. So then they tell you what's beneath that. And then what do? He says, then I ask, what's beneath that? And he said, I keep going until I've got at least 5 layers. So this is a decision that needs to be made, and if possible, early on. Also, constantly challenging the characters to their core. And there are lots of ways you can do this. One of the decisions they made in this show was to put Louis Litt on his ass constantly searching, looking for a reason, trying to convince himself, yes, he's from Harvard. No, he's not from Harvard, right? Just that one decision, again, set up all kinds of worry for us as an audience, and constantly put that secret in a place where at any moment it could be exposed. So there are 45 other important decisions that you need to make. Now, again, these decisions are things that you can make. You can make it all kinds of times. You could be in the 3rd season and suddenly make one of these decisions. But I'm going to tell you, it is 20 times easier to do it in the very beginning. If you can make the decisions before you write, everything you're writing will come from these decisions that make this show great, right? If you're waiting until after you've written an entire season to go back and make some of these decisions, again, you're going to be fighting against your own creativity. You're going to be fighting against what you've already written. It makes it so much harder. So stay with me for about 5 minutes. Let me just walk you through a class that is designed to have you be a master at this. And this class we created, I actually had an executive from NBC Universal. I was having a whole conversation with him, and he said, here's what I need, and I'm not seeing it. Now, this was 3 years ago. It was just before the pandemic. But at that point, what he said was, he said, I'm looking for binge-worthy shows, and what I see is a whole lot of really good drama that doesn't create the binge-worthy experience. So at that point, we went, okay, let's do what it takes to be able to create this and to be able to give you the power to be able to write as well as any showrunner in this industry. So with every lesson, you're going to learn another key to making your show binge-worthy. This is some serious stuff. It took us 2 years of working with 2 different development teams to design all of this. Every module has 10 to 15 lessons. We have 5 modules. First one is designing your binge-worthy show. This is where you're going to make all of these decisions. And these are the decisions that sell the show. right? I was talking with a showrunner and I said, tell me how you break a show. That's how you create a brand new one. And he said, I get a group of writers in a room and we start brainstorming. And he says, we start talking about it. And all we're looking for are those key decisions. And I said, so you're not writing? And he says, usually not for the first week or two. He says, all we're looking for are those decisions. So we're going to do that too. We're going to do just like they do in the major writers' rooms. You're going to figure out the 50 most important decisions for your show. I will give these to you one at a time, and we will show you examples of how they work so you know exactly how to think to create each one of these. At the end of this module, you're going to have those 50 decisions, and these are decisions that will make your show great, decisions that will make your show sell, and with these decisions, or without these decisions, all the writing in the world doesn't help you. And this is what these decisions, by the way, these 50 decisions are what's missing from almost all the people who are not winning contests right now. If you had made these decisions, you'll end up doing that. We had a writer who just won the Final Draft Big Break contest after going through this program. She wrote a TV pilot and ended up getting first place. I think she beat 4,000 other writers. And later she credited it to this. She said it was those decisions that had her show be better than the others. Also, out of that, they had 2 managers read her pilot. Both of them came back and wanted to represent her. She did some interviews with both of them and chose the one she liked the best. She had her pick of managers because of those 50 most important decisions. Module 2 then is creating your TV pitch Bible. Now, most people wait until after they've written the pilot to create the TV Bible. We don't do it like that. We create the Bible first. And the reason we do that is because then you know so much more about your show. You know what the 5 seasons are going to be. You know what's happening in season 1, the whole thing. And because of that, you can make so much better decisions. Plus, once you have this TV pitch Bible done, you are writing from an informed place. You know what you're doing. So this is based, by the way, on what producers and funding sources needed. If you look out there in the world, like if you do a search on the internet for a TV Bible, you will see a whole lot of Bibles that are from before the streamers. Up until that point, they're all different. They're confusing as hell because it's like you look at one and it does it one way, you look at another and it does it the exact opposite way. So it's important to understand that things have changed since the streamers came in. If you are using a Bible you're copying a Bible from before the streamers, it's wrong. Please know that. So what we did was I went to producers first. I asked a bunch of producers. I talked to some showrunners about TV Bibles and found out what their thoughts were. And then I went to some of the funding sources. And the reason we went to the funding sources was because the producers are getting the Bible ready to hand to the funding sources. So when I got to the funding sources, I found out exactly what they needed and in exactly what order. So once you come into this, you're going to be a master at creating TV Bibles. You'll get the specific criteria that has to be in there. You will know exactly also how to make your TV Bible a page turner, which is not what you see in most of them. And here's what I mean by this. Your TV Bible, the way we write it, is something that the moment they start reading, they can't stop. We design it to be binge-worthy on its own. That's important. If you can do that with the Bible, they're going to see you as an incredible writer. Module 3, once you have made the 50 most important decisions, once you have the TV Bible, now we're going to create a brilliantly complex pilot outline. Now, some of you may say, I don't outline. Please know this. If you're ever going to work in a writer's room, they spend 3 to 5 times more working on the outline than they do the actual scripts. So every episode, they outline them in detail. And this isn't just about, like, a lot of times people want to put in all kinds of details and they think that's enough. It's about having those 50 most important decisions show up in every single episode. So if you ever want to be in that writer's room, you need to master outlining. This will give you that. You're going to build in depth, intrigue, key needs for the pilot and every episode thereafter. A great outline equals a great episode. And let me just say one other thing on this. We outline with 5 layers. Most people, when they write a pilot, and this is what we've seen in the contest, they're operating with 1 to 2 layers. So our outlines are they have significantly more depth, more intrigue, more interest, and all of that kind of thing. This will change how you write. You will become a much, much better writer just going through this module. Module 4 then is writing a mesmerizing TV pilot. And let's be clear, there should not be a single moment that a producer who's reading your pilot is able to stop. Really, truly. We had a writer who went through this program. She created a pilot. She was good at pitching, so she got it into a major producer, but the producer didn't know her, so he set her script aside and didn't think about it. She called him back a week later. He hadn't read it. A month later, he hadn't read it. 2 months later, he hadn't read it. So she went back to him and she said, listen, I want to thank you for requesting my pilot. If you will just read 5 pages of it, I'll never bother you again. And he says, you promise? And she said, yes. And he says, okay, I'm going to read 5 pages and I'll be done. And she said, okay, just read the first 5 pages. If you do that, I'll leave you alone. 45 minutes later, he called her on the phone and he says, oh my God, you're an incredible writer. He read every single word of that pilot. He couldn't stop after 5 pages. This is why this is so important. You need them to see you as an amazing writer, right? Our purpose here the pilot is to launch the entire show, but let's also be clear, its job is to launch you as a writer and as a success in this industry. So it's got to create the binge-worthy experience from the first episode. And this is what you're going to learn. You're going to create this. You're going to make this happen. And it needs to deliver on all of those levels we were talking about. You're going to have 5 levels built into your pilot instead of 2. That makes it much, much deeper than the feature films, but it also makes you show up as a great writer. So, and then finally, module number 5, marketing to producers and streaming services. Here, we're going to teach you 4 different kinds of pitches that you need. And these pitches don't come from me. They come from interviews I did with producers. So I have interviewed over 800 producers in the last 20 years, but specifically, I interviewed 150 of them about pitching. And what you need to know about producers is their whole job is pitching, right? They are either listening to pitches or they're delivering pitches. So they know what they're doing. We have 4 types of pitches that go all the way from a 15-second pitch up to a 8-minute long pitch. Each one of them has a different kind of purpose. You need to be a master at each one of those. So you're going to learn all 4 of those pitches. You're going to put them together for your show. So when you get to producers, you get to any situation where there's somebody that you might pitch, you will know what to do. And let me just tell you up front, we designed this module for people who are introverted. So if you're thinking to yourself, I can't pitch, I'm going to tell you, we designed this to make you a star without you having to be a performer. And without you having to put yourself at all kinds of risk. So it makes a huge difference. Those pitches that you're going to give are going to be so compelling that people are going to be asking you for more. This is also about how do you get your show in the doors. So this is important. You know, most people, the reason that their show never gets read is because they don't even know how to get into those doors in the first place. We've got this nailed. We know exactly what we're doing. Again, we had an NBC Universal executive who was on our team all the way through. He takes pitches constantly. He was a master at this. When you get into this module, we'll give you an interview with him where he will walk you through everything that happens in a pitch room, as in his office, and exactly what he's thinking. So you will understand what that producer or showrunner or studio exec is thinking as you're pitching them. And then we'll teach you how to build a network of producers and managers from anywhere in the world, right? And our world has changed. We now have so many other opportunities that didn't exist before the pandemic. What the pandemic did was it put producers, showrunners, it put studio execs on Zoom, just like you and I are right now. And once they understood that, because they had to do it for 2 years, they started going, oh, I can work with somebody from anywhere in the world. We have a writer in South Africa who has gotten in huge doors in this industry, has already made sales and made deals. And he's pitching projects that fit for the US. So, you know, it's changed. And our job is to take advantage of it. So you want to take this class if you want to create the best project of your life so far. If you want to write a script that is 100, 200, 300% better than anything you've ever written, take this class. It will do that for you. If you want to double or triple the quality of your writing, even if you've already written 10 pilots, take this class and it will change things for you. If you want to write for the streamers, this gives you an exact model for that. And the streamers, even though there's difficulties going on right now, they still are the primary source for your future success. And if you want to write a great TV series that people talk about, that anyone who reads goes, oh my God, this writer's incredible, come join us for this class. Now, it's a 5-month long class. It starts on September 5th. So that gives you about 20 days to come up with a great concept. As soon as you sign up with us, I'm going to give you a special in just a moment, but as soon as you sign up with us, we will send you 2 lessons. We'll send you one today and one in about a week on how to create great TV concepts. It will give you an exact model for creating concepts. You can spend the next couple of weeks brainstorming all kinds of concepts, pick the one you like the best, and come into the class with your favorite concept that you just created, and take that through the whole class. If you want to bring your own project, something you've already written, then you need to consider it to be a rough draft and be okay with making significant changes and improvements to it. Now, let me give you this special. This class, again, it starts September 5th. For those of you who already know this is something you want to do, for the first 10, I'm going to give you a special that I think will make it much, much easier. First, if you need a payment plan, you can get in, you just click this link. You can get in for $120 a month for 6 months. That total price is $720. That saves you, I don't know, $500, $600 on this program. So if you think about it, that's about the cost of a Starbucks coffee every day. It's about $3 to $4 a day for you to be mastering writing and mastering writing TV. And I promise you, every lesson in this program, there will be something that you learn that elevates your writing. We had people who have already been in writers' rooms go through this program and come out and say their writing was 100% better. So it makes a significant difference. If you're willing to pay upfront, instead of spending $720 over that time, we can get you in on this link for $670. That's just about half price. So this gives you a chance to take the best TV writing program in existence, and the one that has considered the things that you need in order to sell. So if those kinds of things are important to you, come join us. I promise you are going to love every day of this program. Every day of this program is designed to make you a better writer and increase your chance of success. One last thing, let me just tell you this. We have had so many people who have done this program who were in writers groups. I had 3 of them say, when I started this program, I was the worst writer in the group. And when they finished this program, they were the best writer in that room. That's how much of a difference this makes. So all you got to do is just write down the link. If you're going to do the full pay and get in at 670, write down bit.ly/BWTV, as in Bingeworthy TV, -order. Write that down, put it in your browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and sign up. I promise you, this program, your whole life will be how you wrote before this program and how you wrote after this program, because how you're going to write after this program is at a completely different level. If you need the payment plan, just copy this down, bit.ly/BWTV-payment plan. No caps on any of those, no spaces. Put that into the browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and you're in. Again, this deal that I just gave you is available just for the first 10 that sign up. After that, then the price bumps up. So if you get a price that's above that, that meant that the first 10 were already gone. And if so, don't worry about it. I promise you, no matter what price you pay for this program, even if you paid the full price, you're going to love what this does for your writing, both for TV, if you write novels, if you write features, it will elevate your writing all the way across the board. So with that, let me just say thank you guys for hanging out with me today. My hope is that you got a lot of value out of this already. And I promise you, what we did today is just barely the tip of the iceberg. I mean, barely. You are going to learn 100 times what we did today during this program. So have fun going through it. Can't wait to see you there. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U. I'm wishing you guys the absolute best on your writing, whatever you choose. Bye-bye, everyone.